I'm sorry, but all questions must be submitted in writing.
Oh, hey, I heard you might be stopping by. Welcome to my library. I mean, I know it's not much, but it's more than some people have, but not as much as others who have like huge rooms with nothing but books. I wish I had room for that, and I wish I had the books. Now these books here are some of my tried and true classics that I like to read over and over again. Now I don't always read the same books over and over again. Sometimes I like to read a new book that I've never read before. And when I do that, I go here to the Douglas County Public Library, which is only about 5 minutes from my house. They've got all kinds of classics plus new books. So if I want to try something I don't have at home, I come here. But if I want to go with the tried and true classic I have at home, then I go to my own library. I was going to do a top 10 of books that I like to read over and over again, but the top 10 is so passé. So let's do a top 7. So number 7 is a non-fiction book I found on clearance somewhere for like $1 or $2. It's, hang on a second, I'll find it. Where is it? Oh, here it is. It's Rebel Without a Crew by Robert Rodriguez. Now you probably know Robert Rodriguez as the filmmaker. That's mainly what he does now, but he also writes. You probably know him from movies such as Desperado, Spy Kids, maybe From Dusk Till Dawn. But before all that, he did a movie called El Mariachi, and it was a very, very low budget. Like literally, he put all the money in for it. It's a collection of journal entries from when he was making this movie. It's how he raised the money for it, how they actually shot it kind of guerrilla style, and how he edited it, and then like trying to sell it to, they were going to sell it to the Spanish video market, but they ended up selling it to Columbia Pictures. It's a great tale, and it's all in here, and it's got pictures.
Oh, so the next book on my list is one by Clive Cussler, who's one of my favorite authors, and it is Sahara. Sahara is one of his driest books. I don't mean by his humor or wit. It's set actually in a desert. A lot of his books star Dirk Pitt and Al Giardino. They are members of NUMA, the National Underwater Marine Agency, so they spend a lot of their time working in and around the ocean. So in this book, they're trying to find a red tide that's coming somewhere out of Africa. So they actually go up a river in a boat to try to find out where it's coming out and spilling into the ocean. And of course, it leads them into the desert where they don't see the ocean again for the rest of the book. It's a good book. The movie came out in 2005 starring Matthew McConaughey. Clive Cussler was famously not happy with the movie at all. I think he and the producers ended up suing each other over this whole thing. But the book itself has a lot more detail. It's got a subplot with like a Legionnaire's fort and stuff that's not even hinted at in the movie, along with a mine and workers and that they have to rescue. It's this whole thing that's not even covered in the movie. So the book is definitely much better. It's got a lot more detail, it's got great characters. It's a classic Dirk Pitt tale. If you're looking for one from Clive Cussler to start with, Sahara is a good one. Most people know the movie Apollo 13 because of Ron Howard and Tom Hanks, but it was based on a book. It was originally called Lost Moon by Jim Lovell, who is one of the astronauts in the Apollo 13 mission, and Jeffrey Kluger, who's a reporter. The two of them together wrote this book. Now, I love the movie. The movie is one of my all-time favorite movies, but the book actually goes into a lot more detail about the technical jargon and kind of gives you more of an insight into what happened on the spacecraft. Also, it tells you about Lovell's, like his backstory from his growing up to his marriage to his time in the US Navy and at the Naval Academy, and after in the astronaut corps and some of the Gemini missions that he went on. They also cover some other things in the space program, such as the Apollo 11 fire, how it affected the space program, and it also kind of goes into the mission control and the people in mission control and how they had to work around the clock for them to get these guys back home. Even though the movie's great, the book gives you a lot more detail into what happened in mission control and some of the negotiations they had to do with each other to make it work. So another great movie that's based on a book that's even better is The Martian by Andy Weir. Right here. So this version actually came out after the movie. I didn't get the book until after the movie came out. I hadn't seen the movie yet, but I did get the book first and read it. Andy Weir actually was writing this chapter by chapter and put it on his own personal
website, and people were reading it for free, and people were like, why are you putting this out for free? You can make some money off of it. So he self-published it on like Amazon, I think, and so people started buying it, and they loved it so much that they actually printed real copies. Now, although the movie was good, the book, there's a lot of technical jargon, but he uses his humor to kind of explain all of that and the math problems and everything else so that you can understand a little more. And it also goes into a little more detail about the thought process behind how the main character, what's his name? What is his name? Now this probably has, I know Adam Savage has said this before, but I love it too. This has the first best line of any book ever. I'm pretty much, that's the first line of the book, and it just gets better from there. So I was born in 1970, and my preteen and teen years were in the 1980s. So I pretty much grew up with a lot of 80s pop culture. That's why I really love this next book, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Now, a lot of you have seen the movie, I'm pretty sure, and Spielberg did a pretty good job with the movie, even though they had to completely rewrite the plot around the challenges, because some of it, like playing Joust, is probably not going to film very well and make it exciting. But the book, he does a really good job with it, and it kind of shows you the breakdown of civilization and how people are in touch with reality. And also, there's so much 80s pop culture in here. Some of the stuff even I didn't know. I had to go Google it. That's what I love about this book. There's so much stuff that I didn't know, like Japanese robots that I had to go Google just to find out what they look like and who they were. So if you've only seen the movie, definitely go read the book. It is well worth your time, and you'll learn something about the 80s you probably didn't know. Although it's an extremely long book, it's over 1,000 pages. The Stand by Stephen King. This thing is a monster. I mean, look at it's like carrying around a hardcover book, even when it's in the soft cover. I mean, it's huge. But I like the longer, uncut version better because it's just got more stuff in it. More details, more stories. I mean, like the story of the kid, toward the end, you can't even get that in the cut version. They had to take that whole thing out. So this is the story of a super flu that's made by the government, and it wipes out like 99% of the population. It's like the 1% that's left, and they're having these dreams, and they're either drawn to Boulder, Colorado, to this old woman, or to Las Vegas, Nevada, to the Dark Man. And of course, at the end, there's like an epic battle between the two to see who's gonna live and who's gonna die. So I mean, this is an awesome book, and there's some great characters. So when I go back to this, it's like going back to old friends because there's so many characters. Stu Redman, I mean, he's the main character of the book, and you feel for the guy, and you love to follow him through the whole book. So this is one I definitely love to go back to. So all the rest of the books, none of them were in any particular order, but this next one is definitely my favorite. I've read this book probably 20 times or more, and that is Chiefs by Stuart Woods. This is Stuart Woods' first fiction book. I think he had a nonfiction about a sailing or something, but this is his first fiction one. It's a great murder mystery. It's set in a small town called Delano in Georgia, middle Georgia. It covers 3 police chiefs over like 5 decades, and there's a murderer in town who's murdering young boys. And each police chief, it kind of covers their chase to try to figure out who it is and capture him before he kills again. Even though early in the book you find out who the murderer is, the suspense comes from each of the police chiefs like getting so close to figuring it out who it was. It's an awesome book. It tells you a lot about small town Georgia from the 20s all the way up to the 60s, through the Depression and World War II and civil rights. It's an awesome murder mystery. It's an awesome book about small town Georgia. So if you're looking for one to pick up to start with Stuart Woods, this is definitely a good one to have. So that's my top 7 books that I like to read over and over again. Maybe I've thrown some titles out there you've never read, or some you've never even heard of. Maybe some authors you've never heard of. So hopefully I've given you some ideas of some different authors and some different titles you can try. So if you have a book or books or authors that maybe I've never heard of and that you like to go back to over and over again, write it down in the comments section so that I and other people can see it and maybe give them something else to try out. So until next time, I'm going to go see what else I can find in my library. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. We'll be putting out videos weekly, so if you'd like to hit the old subscribe button so you'll know when new stuff's coming out, we'll see you soon. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, I'm @NatureMoment.